Professor Karl Kim from University of Hawaii. Yes, please come in front. Professor Karl Kim, you're in already in the front? Yes. Hawaii, we share the similar disaster risk, tsunami or volcanoes and hurricanes. We call it typhoons here. But we have some similar hazards in Hawaii. And actually, as many of you know, the word of tsunami was introduced by the Japanese migrants to Hawaii. Then it became English because it was used in Hawaii. It became an English term. So we share some of the problems in Hawaii. And now floor is yours for Professor Karl Kim.
Well, good afternoon. I'm very honored and pleased to join you. I'm going to talk about a little case that we're working on right now involving technology. So the title of my presentation is Using Unmanned Aerial Aircraft for Disaster Management. And this is part of our role as a university to integrate science and technology for disaster risk reduction. And this is work done at my center, which sounds a lot like the center at Iwate University that Professor Koshino was describing. So what I want to do is tell you a little bit about my center and then talk about the work we're doing with UAVs and then some of the applications we're developing and some of the challenges we're facing. My center is part of the National Domestic Preparedness Consortium, which includes several universities and institutions in the U.S. It was created after the Oklahoma City bombings and greatly expanded after 9/11. Our center, which was added by Congress, focuses on natural hazards and coastal communities, and we develop FEMA-certified training courses for state and local government and emergency responders. And over the last 3 years, we've trained more than 14,000 emergency managers across more than 200 cities in the U.S. We're really focused on preparedness, response, and recovery, and have a variety of different sorts of training courses. I want to talk about one of the courses that we've started working on, which involves the use of drones, which is a very controversial subject right now. They're called different things: unmanned aerial vehicles, remotely piloted aircraft. They're small ones, large ones. We've been primarily focusing on the smaller rotocraft, and my videos don't work right now, but a lot of the technology comes from the military. We also use fixed-wing aircraft as well, too, for going longer distances. And really the way we need to think about this is as an ecosystem, that you have a mission plan, you have different sensors, you have a pilot, an observer, a flight plan. And it really is about the sensors, the payload, what you are attaching, different types of sensors that will allow you to capture different types of data. And many, many different industries will benefit from this, not just in disaster management, but in agriculture, fisheries, conservation, and so forth. And right now, the public opinion actually is supportive for the use of this technology for search and rescue, for homeland security, for crime fighting. But when it starts, the public support decreases when it comes to everyday use and people using it. We've been using a lot in Hawaii for mapping and imagery. And then recently we had a hurricane, and we used it for damage assessment. But we also have an active volcano as well, too. And we have authorization to map this using these technologies, tracking the flows and changes over time. We also do damage assessment of structures. This is kind of a funny story. It took about 5 minutes to fly this and about 8 hours to process the imagery. We've used this in other countries as well, too. Post Haiyan, Yolanda, we used both the fixed wing as well as roto imagery. Lots of different countries are using this technology. There are 3 different pathways. Because we're a university, we have to get official authorization. We have a COA to do this. And I want to raise the question about the use of UAVs in Japan. I know there are many companies involved in this. Japan leads the world in terms of agricultural developments. In the US, there are more than 150,000 hobbyists who use this. Big issues about privacy, but what about with disasters? When we have contents of buildings and issues of privacy that I think there are real sensitivities and questions about who has access to the data and to what ends can the data be used. And so I think that there's some very, very important steps we face in terms of being able to work out the regulations, many, many technological improvements, the miniaturization of sensors, creating kind of sense and avoid technology so that these will not crash into airplanes, issues about the interpretation of data. We have many partners around the world that we're working with on this technology to share the technological improvements. I think there are large questions about information integrity as well, too, and concerns about privacy and security, and then very, very large concerns, public perception concerns, personal privacy issues, and then also drones have been associated with military strikes and so forth. So we need to integrate more, work with the industry to understand their needs, also to look at training opportunities. There's been tremendous growth in UAS use, dual-use technologies, many, many industrial applications. Right now, the technology is really outpacing the policy. And again, I think there's a lot of different, if we think about these as transportation devices, there's a lot of interesting new work that's emerging in terms of safety, security, and society. And so this is something that we hope to do. Are you using drones and UAVs? For what kind of applications? If you're not, what types of applications would you develop for response as well as recovery? Do you know of training courses on this? We are looking for partners on this, and perhaps, I know Professor Imamura is so busy, but perhaps this may be an area that we may collaborate on. I did bring some videos here, if I can bring them up. Can somebody help me with this? So we'll start with this one. Hopefully this will play. I guess not. It is? Oh, there it goes. Yeah. Okay, this is the fixed wing video. And this is from some work in the Philippines. You can see this particular model, it's hand-launched, and it's really all about the sensors that you attach to this. We currently cannot fly these in the US because the FAA passed a law that you have to maintain visual sight, and so after we launch this, we have to have a helicopter or a small plane follow it, which sort of defeats the purpose of this. One of the challenges with this technology is it's easy to launch them. It's really hard to land them and recover them. So we're experimenting with some nets and some other technologies to try to use these. The smaller The rotorcraft models are more affordable. They have a much easier learning curve. They're in many ways much easier to use, but that one didn't work. All right, let's try the last one over here, the lava flow. Well, I wanted to show you, I have a minute left, so I did bring a video from Hawaii showing our recent lava flow. Actually, this is overtaking a solid waste station. In addition to destroying some homes and a cemetery, some roads, electrical utilities, the lava overtook a solid waste transfer station. And so we have authorization with the University of Hawaii at Hilo to monitor the lava flow using this sorts of technology. And I think that oftentimes we think of our lava as pretty slow moving and relatively safe, but actually when it hits asphalt, it does create some toxic chemicals and other opportunities for using this sort of unmanned technology as well too. So that's the basis of the talk I wanted to give. I think it's a very exciting, emerging area, one in which the technology and the industry is probably outpacing the government, the regulation, and also the training opportunities. So I think that this is something that we need to work on, to think of good applications for saving lives as well as building resilient communities. So thank you very much, and I stuck to my time.